I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know what I'm talking about. Don't listen to old Workshop Lewis. Probably still don't listen to this Workshop Lewis, but I mean, I'm trying my best. Up here is my E30 M3 Ute. In the last episode, we messed around with the E36 rear diff hat, folded up the mounting points for the dual ear replacement hat. Just after I finished it, I sent an email off to my engineer. He's replied and gone, yep, all good. So first thing we can do, drill out the holes so then we can plug weld them on and then weld on the sides. And then we have a E36 dual ear hat in an E30. Sick. Just before we get to all of that, I want to talk about this week's sponsor, me. So we've now got t-shirts, jumpers, hoodies, flags, all on the merch store. I've also got the normal one that I wear with just the shield. So if you're interested in getting some merch, head over to the store. Let's get this welded in. I've already removed all of the underbody from the chassis. I'm gonna drill 6 holes in both sides on both mounts. So then we can plug weld and then weld down the side on each one, just to replicate how it was originally done in factory. Woo! That is not getting held properly. Everything's prepped, ready to go. There's a little bit of messing around to make sure they're all set up right, but you can get that sorted and then get these bad boys welded in. I've put them around the wrong side. Nope, I haven't put them around the wrong side. I'm putting that up incorrectly. For those that have been watching for a while, yes, I am still welding in volleys. No, I do not feel comfortable right now. I think if I weld this side up, I've tacked the peg to the bracket. I should then be able to drop the this support down and it'll make it easier to come in from the other side. Might get my feet as far away from the welding as possible. I do have a little blanket, like a welding blanket sitting over the top of them, but boy, does it still feel uncomfortable. Yeah, you can still see that. And I can get my feet further away. So now we should be able to go like this. We got a diff hanging up by itself. Nice. All right, let me just push that out of the way. Oh, I'm hooked. I'm hooked. I'm gonna do the holes on the other side, the sides on this side, the sides on the other side. Maybe I should have welded the peg in first, like before I welded it to the chassis. Boy, that would have been a good idea. Poop. Whatever, too late now. I think to weld the pegs on, I've left a little gap in between the face and the bracket. I want to take the hat off, weld here, weld here. Yeah, okay, we're all good, don't worry. That ain't going nowhere. Howdy, I'm Office Lewis, and it's been a while since I've been on this channel. I'm still alive, Workshop Lewis didn't kill me. I'm still here, still editing. In episode 29, I did a t-shirt giveaway, and I let you guys decide. And it was for the best lifting rocks and finding crabs story. And to me, there was a clear winner. Dan, amazing. Lifting rocks is about trying to do something to better yourself, probably getting nipped, but doing it anyway. And he did a comment on how he was starting to stagnate in his job, He was comfortable, he was fine. One of his friends pestered him to apply for a job with him. 5 grueling interviews later, he got the job, doubled his salary, and is doing stuff that challenges him. It was an amazing comment to read, and as soon as I read it straight after the episode, I was like, man, I hope this guy wins. So I'll be sending a t-shirt out to you, Dan, along with your dang steering wheel. Stop winning everything. I'm gonna do another giveaway, and Dan's not allowed to win this one, all right? So you can comment, but if your name comes up first, someone else is gonna get the draw. We're gonna do a crab t-shirt or a crab car t-shirt. So we're gonna run a competition. You've gotta name the crab driving the car, all right? My suggestion, Crabbathy. Let me know what you think. If you've got something better than Crabbathy, leave it in the comments, please. I don't want to leave this giveaway to go on for as long, so we're just going to draw it next episode. I haven't decided how I'm going to draw it, whether it's going to be random or most votes, but vote for the one you like anyway, and then we'll go for that. Hopefully there is just a clear winner and an obvious name that one of you come up with. But the winner will get a crab car t-shirt sent out to you anywhere in the world, no cost. Back to Workshop Lewis. What's next? Exhaust? Maybe? Can't do the fuel tank yet. I think while I've got this here, we start hooking up the exhaust, because I may need to modify hangers to then take the exhaust. Let's do that. I think the last thing I said was I'm going to do the exhaust, but I can't do that. Some of you may watch the short about the rear bumper and the exhaust and all of that. The majority said go dual tip. I'm not going to do that. I'm going to stick with the original exhaust, but I am still going to have to modify it a little bit. So I've learned a lot about E30s and the difference or variations between M3, Series 1 and Series 2. A bunch of panels are different, and the way the M3 bumper joins up for a genuine bumper is completely different to the way a chrome bar attaches to a Series 1 or how a Series 2 body kit attaches to the chassis. And I don't think the aftermarket one's going to attach, because that's supposed to be Series 2. I bought all of the bits for that, I got the crash bar, and it's just not going to work. So we're going to stick with the single pipe, and we're going to stick with the genuine bumper. I am waiting for parts for that bumper to attach on, but hopefully they get here next week. I've also got a bunch of parts on order for the diff, a new LSD internal hat, clutch, like rebuild kit, crush washer, no, crush spacer, so I can rebuild the diff. And then I got the stub axles for the E34 axles to then bolt up to everything that I've got going on. There's so many different parts. And like, I know in the last one I said, oh, I'll be able to bust out a couple of episodes. I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know what I'm talking about. Don't listen to old Workshop Lewis. Probably still don't listen to this Workshop Lewis, but I mean, I'm trying my best. What we can do is previously, old Workshop Lewis, which still did a good job. I'm sorry, old Workshop Lewis. My bad. Previous Workshop Lewis reinforced rear subframe, trailing arm, and front subframe. And I didn't put that into the playlist episode series. So we're going to go back in time to when I had probably a little bit more hair, but I also had a little bit more weight. So, I mean, it's a trade-off. I probably go with more hair and with more weight, because you can lose weight, but you can also lose hair. Anyway, here I have an old E31 that I reinforced a couple of years ago. I've since sold the car, so I'm not even going to use it. I don't really want to rebuy the plates, because by the time you buy the plates and have shipping, it just gets a little bit expensive. So today I thought we'd run through the process of template making, cutting it out of cardboard, some cardboard aided design, and then cutting it out of just some 50mm flat bar, because you can get this for I paid 10 bucks for 1.5 meters, and this is going to be more than enough to do rear subframe, front subframe, and maybe some of the reinforcing in the trailing arm. So with all of that said, we'll just start cutting our templates out and then transferring it onto metal and weld it in. All right, I've got a box. I'm just going to cut it into 50mm strips so I can transfer it onto the 50mm plate easily. Good enough. That's all you need. You can see we've got this plate over here, which is just running down the side. We are going to need to grind back a little bit of the weld here, and we'll obviously clean up all of the paint before we weld. We go across at the top, cut that. There's a fold mark where they've bent this piece of metal. We're going to line this plate up with that. That's where we're going to be welding on. We mark the top, and we're just going to draw a line. And there we go. First template. It's as simple as that. That one can also be used mirrored on the other side. This template is going to do 4 parts. We've got the fold line. We're going to hold it up, mark the top, mark the bottom. We might come out 20mm, say 10mm, and then we're going to join up from there to the bottom. There we have the template that will do both sides. Now be aware that if you weld this piece in, the nut and the bolt to hold the trailing arms goes through here. You'll need to install your trailing arm first, because normally you'd undo it from this side. This plate is going to cover that bolt. But there's the reinforcement plate. That is going to do 1, 2, and then the same on the other side. So we've got 2 of the 3 for these reinforcements. Then the last one we've got to do is on this angle. So it's a bit of an off angle. So this one's going to be a little bit smaller than 50mm, but we'll hold it up to that notch where the fold line is. You can see that it's about 10mm from the top of the cardboard to the bottom of the frame, not to the bottom of the weld. We're going to mark roughly 10mm up. Then we're going to draw a line, get our scissors, cut that away. We're going to cut the corner away to clear the weld. And we haven't quite got it right. There's a little bit of a radius. All right, and that is spot on. Mark the top. And if you want to clean it up, you could change the angle. And then we have reinforcing plates for all of the trailing arm mounting points. We'll transfer them onto the 50mm flat bar and then cut them out. But we do have 2 more spots that we need to just template before we cut it out of the flat bar. So you can see on this back one that we've got some reinforcing plates over here and on the back, just here. So the next bit that we're going to do is the top. This one isn't going to be 50mm. Another bit of cardboard. Hold it on the top. Got the width. I'm holding it flush with the frame. So this one is 35mm. Whoop. Hold the cardboard so it doesn't flex.
Flexo!
We've got the plate. That fits. If you get a combination square, you can line up this end of it on a number. I'm lining mine up on 85. And that way they should all be uniform. There we have our reinforcing plate. That one's done. Now our last one to do, again, we only need to do one side and you will be able to mirror it. So just get one nice template, cut a piece down so it's a little bit more manageable. Take a guess. It's cardboard. If you get it really wrong, just get some more cardboard. Mark, mark. get a rough idea. So we've got one. Can't see it, but it does the exact same thing. With these ones, I would suggest welding it on and then just drilling the hole through the back. I'm going to do the same thing for these. That is our template sorted. We can transfer them all to 50mm flat bar. I'll get all of these cut out and then we'll weld them in. We'll just mark these out on the bar. We can mark out a bunch out at once. I should have done it like that. You fool. I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know what I'm talking about. Don't listen to old workshop Lewis. Probably still don't listen to this workshop Lewis, but I mean, I'm trying my best. I've put a little number on each one to know how many I need of each one. If you do the angle into the center, you can then flip it and save yourself a cut. Let's get cutting. Guess who forgot one? Me. There's all the plates. I'll deburr them, grind them down to where they need to be ground down to. And because I have used flat bar, there's a bit of a mill scale that I'll just sand off just to make it so they're nice and clean. And then we'll weld these bad boys in. So we've got our templates, we've got our metal plates. Sick. Now we want to offer each plate up, hold it into the position that we're going to weld it, and just mark around. So then we know that we need to clean up all of the paint around that area. We are going to clean up the paint back here just so it doesn't bubble up, and then we will be putting on some weld through primer just to make sure that it doesn't rust. We'll mark all of these out. You can see all of the white texture. I'm going to clean all of the paint off in those locations so we can get ready to weld these. I've sprayed everything with weld through primer, but I've just noticed there are a couple of welds on the subframe that get in the way of some of the plates, so I'm just going to tickle them down, redo the weld through primer, and then we can tack everything together. I'm not completely happy with this one. I feel like it's overhanging a little bit too much at the bottom. I'm just going to grind that down a little bit further. Yeah, much better. We'll get this top one all welded in, underside as well, don't forget about underneath. So I did a center pop, chucked a 3mm drill down it. These are a 13mm hole. All right, and that's the subframe reinforced. Took me maybe 3 or 4 hours to make the templates, make the plates, grind the plates up, bit of weld through primer, and weld them on. And I mean, I didn't have to wait for delivery, I didn't have to pay for shipping. I've still got probably a meter of flat bar, so really it's like 500mm of flat bar and you can reinforce this subframe. I'll remove the bushings. We're going to paint it the same color as the steering linkage, and all of the subframes going that color. I really like that color. We'll get this off to sandblasting, get it primed, and then work out the bushings and then get it painted. The next step is to decide what bushings you're going to go with. Now, I'm going Super Pro bushings just because they are incredibly easy to install compared to the OEM versions. OEM is always going to be a terrific option. I just didn't want to go with it this time. The reinforcings came out really well. The part looks amazing. This is a metallic paint, so it's going to look amazing for an underbody, probably a little excessive. We've got a cardboard box. We can cut our templates out and make a pattern. Now we've just got some 3mm sheet steel. These are just offcuts. We'll work out how big we need to go. I've already installed reinforcing plates on another set of these previously, so I have a pretty good idea of where we need to reinforce and what we're going to reinforce. Two common spots are across the arms, but if you come down too low, you then have to modify the reinforcing to make sure you clear for other subsystems underneath the car. And then main body to suspension strut. So we'll get our cardboard, make a template, and then cut it out of the steel. When you're working out your pattern for reinforcing, you need to define where needs to be reinforced first. I've seen other places have a bar go across the bottom, and then the people who have installed it have had to modify it. So we don't want to come down too low. Up here has plenty of strength. There's a corner or a radius going across. I don't think we need to come past that mark. Let's mark out there first. Where does it change? And it rolls up about there. So we're not going to go any higher than that. Plenty of strength through here with all of these compound radiuses and curves. Then we come over to the other side. It's about there. The first line is going to go from there to there. We then want to work out how far down we want to come. Just guessing. Let's go from about here. And we don't want to have them the same length because it will come down too far. We just want to get a straight line and we'll go to there. Now we know where the reinforcing plate's going to go. We can then template out our reinforcing plate. Chuck our bit of cardboard on. We know we're going to cut from there to there. We know we're going to cut from there to there. Looking pretty good so far. Can't see the line, but really it doesn't matter. It's a reinforcing plate. You've also got to consider that this cardboard is maybe 1/2 mil thick. The plate that we're going to use is 3 mil thick. And we've got to work out where we want it to finish. So that's going to be the top, but if we make that 3 mil thick, it's going to be sitting up a little bit higher. So I've lined it up underneath. Just going to mark across. Now I'm going to leave a little bit of extra meat on there because it's better to cut up to a line than cut more than you want off. Alright, so currently we're sitting flat, but we want to probably come in on the radius so we don't come past these two faces. And there's a little bit of a radius on here, so we'll draw a little bit of a radius and then come back in. Maybe a little too aggressive. Here's good. We need to trim out across. Still a little bit more at the top. It's almost looking like a straight line now. I think we still want to twist it around a little bit more. So that's going to be too much. But this is why you make a template out of cardboard first. Now that's looking good. Now we want to work over this side. It's flat, radius is about here, so we're going to mark there and there. That's looking pretty good. Yeah, cool. I think just for the sake of it, because I know there are clearance issues on the bottom side, we might just draw a little radius. Oh, that's looking pretty schmick. We should be able to mirror this on the other side, so let's double check to make sure it fits on the other side. Would you look at that, eh? Pretty dang good. One template done. The next one is going to have a little bit of a curve in it, so it might be a little bit more difficult to do, but let's get the second template sorted. Second spot is going to go from in here around to support. This is where the strut gets bolted to and goes the opposite way. It's currently upside down. So we need to define where we're going to weld. We're going to start here. We're going to cross up, mark our cardboard, eyeball it and just cut it parallel. We'll use the cardboard side so we can draw on the back. Draw on the other side. Would you look at that, eh? Maybe a little bit tighter on this radius. Just keep offering it up until you get it right. I've got a rough idea, but I'm not overly happy with it, so let's just get it a little closer. It keeps coming out the same line, so let's just trust it, eh? It's pretty close. I think that's pretty dang good. We'll mirror it and see if it works on the other one as well. And I forgot one reinforcing plate. This is where the sway bar attaches to, and you do want to reinforce it because I have seen them break off. We're just going to get a piece of cardboard again, mark underneath, mark across. There we go. We'll drill the hole through the other side after it's welded on. We'll cut 2 of them out, and there's another reinforcing plate. We got some flat bar still left over from the rear subframe reinforcing. 50 mil seems to be the perfect size. Nice. We'll cut these out. We know we need the inside line. So as long as you're cutting around texture, you're all good. Everything's going to be hot. Don't touch it with your hands. We're only maybe half an hour in. We've already got our plates. We do need to clean them up, but grinding disc, flap disc, I've got a sander, so I'm gonna go chuck them on the sander. Let's get these cleaned up and then we're ready for welding. All right, we've got our plates. Now we just need to prep where we're gonna weld onto the trailing arms, and then we've got reinforced trailing arms. This is surprisingly easy. For this one, because there is a radius in here and a radius in here, I have just put a bit of a chamfer on both sides, and then we just want to give it a quick mark. We'll remove all of the paint on that side. We'll use a bit of this steel just to make sure we're sitting at about the right spot. We know we need to clean up either side of that, and then the last one, we more so need to mark out how far, but we know we just need to clean up around all of here. Get all of that paint off with a wire wheel or angle grinder, whatever you've got. And then we're ready to weld. Just giving them a wipe, and then we'll spray them with some weld through primer. Dang it, I just put my hand in the weld through primer. I always forget the clamps.
The clamps! Right?
Don't put your clamp in the bore of it. You don't want to arc out in there and then create mess. I've put weld through primer on the rear of it. We're going to work out where it wants to sit naturally. That's sitting pretty nicely. So because of the way we've made the plate, we don't need to hit it down to follow the contour of the trailing arm. I think that's all sitting in there pretty nice and neat. Let's tack it in. I'm pretty happy with how that looks. Look at that from the other side. That looks pretty schmick. Let's get the other plates in. Again, because you're sandwiching 2 pieces together, you want to make sure that you're putting weld through primer on both sides. That's completely the wrong piece. Is it? Yes, that was the wrong piece. Well done. Just want to make sure it doesn't separate as I weld it. We can drill that hole in a second. We'll get this last plate welded in. All we've got left to do is drill out this hole, 8.5. We are going to pilot drill it, get the center punch. Looking pretty good. Doesn't have to be perfect. It's just bolt clearance. Just a little wobbly. Bit of timber. Drilled hole. We're good. Give it a clean up on the other side. There is some welding spatter that I want to clean up, but there's even factory welding spatter on there that I want to clean up as well. That's reinforced. So now you could clean it up, paint it yourself. I'm going to send these off to get sandblasted, and then the crash shop next door is going to put a Really nice lick of paint on there, the same color as the steering linkage that I made in a previous video. So I was just having a look at this plate. This is somewhat of the orientation of the trailing arm. It sits down a little bit more, but because of the way I've welded it, if water or dirt sits in here, it will just eventually get underneath there. So on the back here, I'm just going to drill a hole just to make sure that it doesn't accumulate too much crud in there. Now we've just got somewhere for the water to go. And with that, we now have some fully reinforced trailing arms. Now, there are other reinforcements that you can do. This is what I've gone with. I gotta say, they look awesome. Your next decision is what you want to do as far as bushings go. I've gone with the Super Pro non-concentric bushings, so then I can adjust toe and camber from the bush without having to weld something onto my subframe. Here are the bushings. You can see the holes aren't concentric with each other, so you can adjust this in here and it changes the position of the trailing arm. I've just installed the Super Pro bushings. It's two halves that slide in, and then the metal sleeve with the concentric hole slides in through the outside. Way easier to install than a OEM bushing. Gives you that extra adjustment when it comes to toe and camber. Much easier to install, and one of the reasons why I went with this kit over the OEM kit. Remove everything in there, subframe, trailing arms, diff, remove the whole lot, and then we'll go back in time and watch old workshop Lewis reinforce the rear subframe. And he didn't even buy a kit. It's just, you make templates up and weld it in. It's super simple. Sick. I'm gonna go get someone to just stand by just in case it drops. So this one's nearly out. These are only just in a little bit.
Yeah.
I've just got to.
What do you want me to?
This, well, it shouldn't fall,
Okay,
but it's more just a.
I'm here to support it.
Yeah. Is that loose? That's out. Okay, so you've already, yeah, anywhere. These are the last ones. Now, there should be enough pressure on it so it doesn't move, but just take them out, and then they shouldn't be in a bunch either. Okay, maybe it will. Think strong thoughts. Okay, so if you just want to lower this stand down. Yep.
There we go.
All right.
Happy? You got it?
No.
You want to keep going down?
Yes. It's level now. Well, it's... All right. I'm going to lift it up, and you're going to pull the jack out of the way.
Please.
Jack and Jack are going to get out of the way. Yep. All right, now just help me lower it down, because I didn't have the grip. Yeah, okay. Sick. Now that the diff is out, one of the things that we're going to do with it all clear is finish welding up here, and then the same thing on the other side, and then clean it up so it's nice and flat. I also need to just clean that up a little bit, but all in good time. Hopefully that was the hardest thing I have to do today. Give me a second. Need to work out what I'm going to do next. I'm going to do an engine rebuild once I'm rebuilding the car, because I have to build it once, get the chassis tested, then take it all apart, do the body work and the paint work, and then re-gasket and seal the engine. I shouldn't need to redo anything like internally. I just need to gasket and seals. Whoops. that's everything out subframe wise. I'll probably still take out the wiring harness because I can't remember what that was for. Probably for something useful. I'll definitely need to put it back in, but we'll clean it up, make it look nice and neat. I think while we've got everything out, I'm gonna clean up all of the dirt and whatnot. I'm not gonna strip all of the underbody off because it's still pretty good. I can add more, and if there are any spots that are looking particularly nasty, I'll dig it out and redo it. But it's one of those things that I did a pretty good job from factory and I don't necessarily need to mess around with it. And I can't add anything. I've confirmed that with my engineer. He wants me to have the car built, get it tested, then I can come back. So other than like priming what I've done, I can't really add any more underbody to it now anyway. So we'll clean it up, leave it factory, and then keep going on. Now that this is all out, I'll unwrap the bits that are going in so you can see those. So we've got the old parts. I've already sent a trailing arm off to Solid Engineering, and Cam has come up with a pretty ingenious way of messing around with this rear trailing arm, mainly the shoes, to make it so we can bolt this rotor on, and then I'll just make an adapter to use the F82 M4 rear calipers, which probably can't call them M4 because they're used on the M140i, 240i's. All of the rears are the same, just the fronts are different. Crusty rear subframe is going to go, and we get to use all of this. So I am going to mention that I reinforced this cast bit at the same time, but I'm not going to show that because it's a bit of a contentious subject on welding to cast. You should really be heating up the cast before you weld onto it, and if you're not confident in doing that, it's probably something that you should send to a proper shop. I just want to mention again that the merch store is up, hoodies, t-shirts, we've got flags, and I thought I would just tell the story again because I'm sure some of you are asking, why the hell is there a crab driving the ute? My partner and I, once a year, go to the beach to play the crab championship, and it's the person who finds the biggest crab, the smallest crab, and the first crab. And for the first couple of years, well, no, Sarah's never won, but for the first couple of years, she was afraid to pick up a rock because she might get nipped. And a couple of years passed, the trash talking would start as soon as we get down to the beach, and I would say, you've got to lift rocks to find crabs. You've just got to do it. You might get nipped, but you've got to lift rocks to find crabs. And it became a bit of a saying for me of, like, you've got to try to succeed. Sure, you might fail, but you've still got to try. So that's the crab car. And I've got to say a big thanks to Alpha Manta for drawing it up. I'm super happy with how it came out, and I love wearing them. And another thing to note is they're super comfortable. If you don't believe me, here's Jimmy Oakes wearing one.
What is up, everyone?
Thanks, pal. So head over to the shop, take a look, see if there's anything that you want. I've been toying with the idea of starting a Discord and then having a breakdown of the countries. So if you live near someone nearby who wants to split shipping, you could maybe sort it out that way. Does leave me open to having like bad actors messing with people, which I'm not overly thrilled about, but I think it's something that if you can all play nice, then let me know in the comments if you think it's something that I should do. You saw we gathered a bunch of bits again in this episode, and I feel like the last couple of episodes have just been gathering things that we need. I am nearly at a point where I can build something. I think I've got all of the bits I need for the diff. I should have all of the bits I need to rebuild the axles, and we can throw basically the entire driveline in. And then hopefully the solution to the rear brake caliper is sorted as well, so we can sort that out, which would be sick. We can then start running brake lines, hook them up to the brake booster. I'd need to put a brake pedal in there first, but I mean, I can do that as well. Big thank you to all of my Patreons. So thank you everyone who's watching, supporting, commenting, liking. It's sick. With all that said, have a good week. have a good weekend, and I'll catch you in the next one. Remember, keep lifting rocks, keep finding crabs.